Yo, what's going on, guys? Welcome into the Bulls Report. My name is Patrick Siepman, and welcome in as we have an interesting topic that I want to discuss with you guys on today's show. We're going to be breaking down a rumor that's been floated out there on a potential trade package of Zach LaVine to the New York Knicks. And guys, I understand these rumors. I'm honestly, I'm getting a little sick of talking about them. But this is an interesting one because it also includes Andre Drummond in this trade, who also just had one of the best games I've ever seen from a Bulls big man. He had 25 and 24 the other night, and he just absolutely dominated that basketball game. So it was LaVine, Andre Drummond to the New York Knicks for Evan Fournier, the match salary, RJ Barrett, and a 2024 unprotected first-round pick. I'll be giving you guys my thoughts on that on today's show. But, guys, before we dive into it, can I ask you guys to hit that subscribe button? I would really appreciate it if you guys go down there, hit that sub button. Free, easy way to help us out here on the Bulls Report. Listen, I know Chicago. I know Bulls fans. It's a large fan base, and I'm trying this to be your go-to Bulls YouTube channel. I'm going to be putting in the work. So if you guys want to show some love, just go down there, hit that sub button, and we can break down this rumor. So let's talk about it. Zach LaVine traded to the New York Knicks along with Andre Drummond for RJ Barrett, Evan Fournier, and a 2024 first-round pick. So I do want to start off talking about from the Knicks side of things and why this makes a ton of sense for them. So obviously we know the New York Knicks last season, they kind of overshot expectations. They made it to the second round, lost to Miami Heat in 6 games, but they were a good basketball team. But the question is with the Knicks, and we saw even Becky Hammon get on NBA on ESPN and talk about how she thinks Jalen Brunson can't be a true 1A option on a championship team. Maybe I also disagree with that a little bit, but they could be looking to get another kind of secondary, tertiary scorer alongside of Brunson and Randle, and also from the Knicks side of things. If you guys don't know, their superstar big man, Mitchell Robinson, one of the best rim protectors, offensive rebounders in the National Basketball Association. He is most likely going to miss the remainder of the year. So right now, their 2 centers, Bulls fans, not a joke. They're running Isaiah Hartenstein, who's been starting, but their backup center has been Taj Gibson. I swear Tom Thibodeau has an addiction to getting former Bulls players, no matter if it's him in Minnesota, him in New York. He always loves bringing in his guys. And so Taj is playing a ton of minutes. But honestly, if you're a Knicks fan, you got to be thinking, this is no dig at Taj. I mean, the man is damn near 40 years old, but you got to be thinking the Knicks are going to be wanting to upgrade at that center spot. So if you throw in a guy like Andre Drummond and you give them that secondary, tertiary scorer next to Brunson and Randle in Zach LaVine, maybe they could be extremely interested. But from the Bulls side of things, so they're going to be getting RJ Barrett and Evan Fournier and a 2024 first-round pick. The Fournier is just a match salary. Fournier probably won't play for the Bulls, so let's just focus in on RJ Barrett and that 2024 first-round pick. Listen, we can start with RJ. I have watched a lot of Knicks basketball over the last couple of seasons. I do a lot of work here covering the Knicks, and I just like watching that team, mainly because I'm still a big fan of Tom Thibodeau and Jalen Brunson, who, obviously grew up in Chicago. But RJ Barrett is a basketball player. I've said this a lot on our Knicks channel, and I'll go live with Marshall Green on there, is that RJ Barrett is just one of those guys. I've called him the most non-impactful 20-point-a-game scorer in NBA history. The thing is with RJ is, he can, he is just kind of mediocre at everything. He's not great at anything. He's kind of a below-average defender. He's not the best catch-and-shoot guy. He doesn't get a lot of deflections per game. And I do think RJ, if you're going to trade for a young piece who you think they could maybe blossom into an all-star or a very high-impact winning player, that's probably not RJ Barrett. And I've watched him a ton this year, and he is just slow-moving laterally. He has a nice game in terms of, getting to the rim, using that big old 6'7" frame. I mean, he is built. And I don't know if he goes to a new situation, he could really develop into a star. But in terms of this trade, LaVine, Andre Drummond for Barrett, Fournier, and a 2024 first-round pick, I'm kind of indifferent on it. If this was the Bulls' best offer, and this was what the trade that I got was LaVine and Drummond for, what we were saying, and we got back Barrett and a first-round pick with Fournier, it's not like I would be upset about it. I'll be like, okay, cool. Now the Bulls have another wing next to Patrick Williams that they could develop, with Ayo, Kobe White, and really start kind of this new, young, fresh rebuild. But I feel like the Bulls could get better with this trade. And, I don't know if it would be a team like I've tossed out the Spurs recently as a team that I think could be a dark horse to trade for LaVine, or even the Sacramento Kings, or even still the Los Angeles Lakers. If they're very unhappy with D'Lo right now, maybe they try to fleece the Bulls in a D'Lo, Rui Hachimura trade with a multiple first for Caruso and LaVine. But even in that trade, like, I would rather get a guy like RJ Barrett instead of a D'Lo and a Rui, because RJ Barrett, he's still a young basketball player. He was a top 3 pick. He was top 5 in his class coming out of high school. Like, maybe kind of, if he gets a new fresher scenery and a new offense to work around with, like, maybe he could take his game, to that all-star level, where instead of him being an inefficient 20-a-game scorer, maybe he could be a very efficient 17, 18-a-game guy for the Chicago Bulls. And my whole beef with RJ, too, is, he is a, very, I don't want to say naturally athletic player, but he is an athlete. Like, I would consider him as an athletic type in the NBA. He's just so poor defensively, and I think it comes down to a lot of want and just a lot of desire for him on that side of the floor. And I think Tom Thibodeau's tried to get it out of him, up in New York, but he really hasn't been able to. And if you ask Knicks fans their opinion on RJ Barrett, man, they're not the biggest fans, which is always a red flag for me in terms of trading for like a young piece. But hey, also, I'm going to compare RJ Barrett to a former Bull that we traded away here in a second. His name is Lauri Markkanen, and maybe the Bulls could trade for RJ, and he could kind of have that Lauri Markkanen kind of development in his game. I'll explain why here in a second, but I do want to give a huge shout-out to today's sponsor. That is PrizePicks, prizepicks.com/CLNS. And if you guys use code CLNS, you're going to get a first deposit match up to $100. I love playing PrizePicks. I use it for pretty much every single Bulls game. It is definitely an addiction I have, and I promise you, once you guys download it, start playing, you guys will be addicted too. Adds more juice to every single basketball game, football game, hockey game, like whatever game you may think of that you watch, PrizePicks definitely has it. It's daily fantasy made easy. All you do is pick 2 or more players. You're going to choose more or less on some projected stat types, and you guys can start seeing the cash roll in today. Put that link for you guys in the comments and description of today's show. Make sure you guys do get hooked up with PrizePicks today. But wrapping up my thoughts on this trade and why I do think, like, would I like the Bulls to get a better haul for LaVine? 100%. But I honestly think LaVine's value may be very, very low right now. And if you would somehow swoop, at a guy like RJ Barrett, who's still a 20-a-game guy in the National Basketball Association, like maybe Knicks fans, because remember how we felt about Lauri Markkanen when we traded him. At least I did, and a lot of my friends did who watched the Bulls. Was when we watched Lauri Markkanen play for the Bulls, I was just kind of sick of him. And I was like, well, he doesn't really bring it as much as I would want to. Not that good of a defender. He's kind of an inefficient, chucker in my opinion. And I guess he was decently efficient for the Bulls, but he definitely took that huge step offensively in his game when he went to Utah after being traded there. And maybe RJ Barrett could do the same. Maybe once he gets traded to Chicago or wherever it may be, maybe he says, this is my new city. This is where I want to be. I'm going to buy in a little more. I'm going to kind of take that next step and try to, prove everybody in New York wrong. And, motivation's such a real thing in life, and we know that. And, the Bulls, they motivated Lauri because they selected him 7th overall. They traded him off a couple years later. I'm sure that was motivation during his workouts when he's going through his drills. He's thinking in the back of his head, I'm going to prove that front office. I'm going to prove that fan base wrong. And there's no bigger fan base and kind of more critical fan base than the New York media. And if RJ would be traded away from there, maybe he has that kind of same development in his game. So in terms of this trade, LaVine and Drummond for Barrett, Fournier, and a first. Let me know if you would do it down in the comments section. Give me a Y for yes or give me an N for no. If they offered me this, I am probably saying yes. I would probably say yes to this deal. I think I'm going to commit to it. I would probably say yes to this. Honestly, I think I'm riding a high right now with Andre Drummond where I wouldn't want to give him up, but definitely a contender and a team that needs a big would definitely be looking to trade for him. Honestly, in general, I think the Knicks are going to be calling about Andre Drummond because, guys, I'm not kidding. They have Taj Gibson playing 20 minutes a night, and he's almost 40 years old. If you're a playoff team and you want to be taken seriously in the Eastern Conference, this is no dig at Taj, one of my favorite Bulls players of all time. But where he is in this stage in his career, he cannot be playing rotational minutes for a championship team. So you add a guy like Drummond next to Hartenstein. Even if Mitch Robb can't come back for the playoffs, I think it makes sense for the Knicks. But, hey, Bulls would be getting RJ Barrett. Knicks would be getting an upgrade at that kind of wing scoring spot. And the Bulls, you're also getting a first-round pick. Do think the Bulls need to start stacking them at some point and just kind of, admit you are wrong. And also with this trade, you don't necessarily punt on the season. Like, the Bulls right now are playing for that play-in game. And, who says a guy like RJ Barrett doesn't come team up with Kobe White, Patrick Williams, Io DeSumo, Vooch, like Caruso, like, all these guys, like, I don't know, man. I don't know. I think I would do this trade, but let me know if you guys would down below. And always, make sure you guys stay subscribed to the channel. Help us reach 6,000 subs here on the Bulls Report by Chat Sports. Thank you guys so much for watching. See y'all next time. Go Bulls.